I'm Trisha and welcome back. In today's video, I am going to be doing my next reading rundown for books 22 through 25 that I read in 2019. So these 4 books are all books that I read or attempted to read during the Audiobookathon, which was in April. And I say attempted to read because one of them straight up just didn't even fall during the Audiobookathon. I read it the week after, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm just really bad at readathons. So let's get into my rundown. Book number 22 that I read in 2019 was You're Never Weird on the Internet, Almost by Felicia Day. This was for the Audiobookathon challenge, Read One of Your Favorite Books. I read this book roughly every year to year and a half, and I absolutely love it. It is hands down a 5 out of 5 stars for me every single time I read it. Felicia Day is absolutely hilarious. I absolutely cannot gush enough about this particular audiobook. If you have any sort of interest in reading celebrity sort of memoirs or humor books, I highly recommend this, and I ended up giving this reread 5 out of 5 stars. Book number 23 that I read in 2019 was The Half Has Never Been Told, Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism by Edward E. Baptist. And this one I did DNF. I DNF'd it at approximately 20% of the way into the book, so I have no star rating for this. But I will tell you a little bit about why I DNF'd it. I did not DNF this because I didn't enjoy what I was reading about. The content that it was presenting was incredibly fascinating, and I really wanted to hone in on the content, but the writing style just wasn't for me. It was not something that I could move past in order to get more out of the book. It was such a hindrance that I just couldn't continue with the book any longer. The book is actually historical events and facts that are presented in a fictional manner. And the fact that it was written in a fictional narrative style wasn't enough for me to put down the book on its own. However, the passages were incredibly meandering and went off on tangents of descriptors that I didn't think served the overall purpose of what the book was trying to get at. Because the prose was so meandering, I found it difficult to concentrate, and I really just wanted the book to get to the point. So I did DNF this, and I have no star rating for it because I don't rate books if I have DNF'd it with less than 50% of the book complete. Book number 24 that I read in 2019 was Illuminated by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I'm not going to go into really what this book is about because this is really popular on BookTube. Basically, it's a sci-fi young adult novel that is told through mixed media with a mystery element to it that we are trying to piece together through all of these interviews and video recordings and emails and audio recordings what happened with the destruction of a spaceship. First off, the characters on this, I really enjoyed the characters and actually how surprisingly well developed they were, considering the fact that it was told through mixed media. I thought we got great characters, and I really enjoyed the full cast that we did get. The audiobook is told with a full cast, so I think that also helped with my enjoyment. For the setting, at first I was kind of frustrated that I was dumped into this world and I didn't know a lot of backstory about how the world got to the place that it is at the start of the story. But as the story progressed, I found myself less irritated by that. And for the plot, I really enjoyed how the mixed media worked with the plot line to unveil throughout the course of the book on what happened and how that conflict arose and what it led up to. I feel like the media forms that were selected for particular scenes were very well crafted because they didn't take away from my ability to enjoy the story, nor did I have trouble feeling for the characters in certain moments, and I also didn't have any trouble feeling a sense of urgency or heightened tension at appropriate moments during the highest point of conflict. Because I did do this on audio, I feel like the audiobook did perform better for me than I think reading the physical text would have. I tend to skim over mixed media in books if there's too much of it, and I will end up missing bits and pieces because of that skimming. So because I was listening to this on audio, I feel like I was able to absorb more information than I would have had I been reading it. So I think that I would not have given this as high of a rating as I did should I have read it in a physical format. That being said, the audiobook was fantastic. I enjoyed the full cast of narrators. I liked the sound effects that were included. I think that they did a really great job with this, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And book number 25 that I read in 2019 was God's Grave by J. Kristoff. I don't want to say too much about this because God's Grave is the second book in this series, so I don't want to spoil anyone, but I do have to say that I absolutely loved this book. It was more brutal and terrifying and gory and violent than Nevernight was, but in all of the right ways. I have to say that I really appreciated the characters and their growth and development and how well fleshed out they were and how we got to learn more about them and where they were coming from for decisions that they made in this story. That was so on point with the characters and how they were developed in the first book in this series. I feel like they made this really smooth progression. Needless to say, I gave God's Grave 5 out of 5 stars. All right, so those are the books that I read during the Audiobookathon this year. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, what were your thoughts on them? And now is a perfect time, if you've not already done so, click that little subscribe button down below if you'd like to see more content from me in the future, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.